Welcome to Wisconsin Brewing Company Park on another DockHaus night on this fine Wednesday evening in Oconomowoc. I'm Dominic Stearn. This is another show, DockHaus Dialogue with Dom. And tonight we have a very special guest. We're joined by Lisa Kelenic. She is the managing partner and CEO with the Country DockHounds. She is the visionary behind a lot of what goes on here at Wisconsin Brewing Company Park, both during the off-season and also with the DockHounds, what you see out on the field. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing tonight?
Well, you bet. Thanks for inviting me. I'm doing well. Even better to see all our fans here tonight, so smiling faces.
Yes, greatly appreciate everyone coming out, and I wanted to have Lisa on tonight specifically because it is National Girls and Women in Sports Day. What does it mean to you to be a woman in the sports world that is predominantly men?
Well, I can tell you I've lived it from all aspects, right? I've lived it as an athlete, I've lived it as a parent, and now to add this to my resume, to be able to be in the actual business and from an operations standpoint, it just kind of brings it all full circle. You get to see it from different sides of it. But what I enjoy even the most is watching how many more women are interested and passionate and committed to having a sports career in all different lanes. And I think that's the beauty of it, is there's a lot of different ways that they can experience it. There's not just one path, there's many paths, and it opens a lot of doors.
And not only that, but you're a sports mom. You're a mom to a couple of athletes, one of which at the highest level. What is it like to be the mother and watch your kids grow up in this atmosphere as well? Oh my gosh, it is stressful.
Every time you hold your breath, and at every bat, every time they're making a diving catch. A lot of times we have family friends and like, oh, it must be so much fun to watch them on TV. I'm thinking it's not any easier than when they were 12 and you were hoping that they would just get on base. With that being said, on the other half of it, it's been extremely exciting to do this journey with them. There's been many different stories, many different things that you wouldn't even experience that if this wasn't part of his path. I always say baseball is a very small sandbox. We've had a chance to meet a lot of people, not only here in the Lake Country area in Wisconsin, but just even around the country and internationally, and how they keep coming back, right? So it's definitely an exciting part of my bingo card.
It's a big community, but it's a very tightly knit one. So we're very happy to bring everyone else here in Oconomowoc and Lake Country into this baseball community and into ours. And what is it like to be able to bring baseball and everything into this community that doesn't have a sports team until now?
Well, here's what I'd say. I don't think we brought baseball here. I think the history of baseball was always here. I think what we had a chance to do is to spotlight another aspect of baseball, but more importantly, spotlight this community and what their commitment is and the energy that they bring. And more importantly, I think just kind of the history, right? So I think we were able to take it and expand it, not bring it here and start over, but it was a chance to, I think, really show what this community is all about, and then some. I think the ceiling's unlimited.
And part of the reason that we wanted to do the DockHaus Dialogue with Dom to enhance these sort of nights where our fans come out and they join us here at Wisconsin Brewing Company Park was to peel the curtain back a little bit into the DockHounds and make you feel like you are a little bit more involved than what you were previously, and that was part of the selling point in having me here this offseason, being the broadcaster here for the Country DockHounds. So, Lisa, with the title of CEO and managing partner, when we have our meetings every week, Lisa is the one who is in charge of those meetings. You're the one who's directing everything, obviously getting the opinions and the thoughts and ideas from everyone else, but Lisa truly is what you see out here. It's a lot of what comes from her. So when you see something cool, chances are that was Lisa's idea. Of course, a lot of it comes from Tom as well, also our managing partner, our owner, and of course your husband. But Lisa is the one who drives the ship and the car behind everything that goes on here. But what led you to getting the vision for the DockHounds, and what's your background that allowed you to build this vision?
First of all, you probably all thought I gave him a script to read, and he did it extremely well. This is all about a collaboration. That's one of our key values that we have here. It isn't just a word that we say. I mean, it truly, I think, is reflected. I'm just here to help facilitate those discussions, ask those questions. This is bigger than what we ever imagined. This is bigger even what we ever talked about. When I first met Tom many, many moons ago, I remember one of the things he talked about is he wanted to open up a batting cage. That was it. That was what his dream was. And obviously life kind of took off from there. That was not in the playing cards at the time. And yet what was very interesting is kind of how that dream evolved. Because 12 years later, after when our daughter was playing softball, is where it expanded into when we built the baseball complex over in Waukesha. And so you took a dream of just having a batting cage, and then we turned it into a complex of something that had never been built before. It's pretty exciting to see kind of where that can evolve to. So to have a chance to kind of take this, again, if you had told me 20 years ago this is where we would be sitting here, and have kind of what's evolved from there, I would have thought you were nuts. I would have said, I'm going to be just probably on a beer league softball team. I can see that. I don't know if I can see running a baseball stadium.
Some people would say I'm nuts, so even without that vision. And for it all to come together, obviously that was well down the line, but what do you think back to when you think of when the idea for the DockHounds and having a professional baseball team that you're in charge of, where did that come from?
I would say that it came from Tom, was a big piece of it, and also from Sonny Bando. So, we all know his story. We know how instrumental baseball was in just kind of in who he is and in his upbringing and what he's experienced. And I think what really brought us together as a pretty strong partnership unit is that baseball for us was all a common thread. It was a foundation for a lot of things that we've experienced, our kids have experienced, and just what it's afforded us. And so to, I think, take all those dreams together is what helped get this started. And then the next evolution from that was where it came from our investors. When you started to share that dream, we found they had kind of the same experiences, but at a different level. And so for them to be part of bringing this to the community is where it just really escalated and evolved from there.
And then it's one thing to have this idea, let's build a baseball team. Let's have a baseball team in this area, our hometown here in Lake Country in Waukesha County. But then it's another thing to go out and execute it. And we're here in the gorgeous club here at Wisconsin Brewing Company Park. It's a very beautiful turf field out there with a nice backdrop. Of course, you do have the highway back there, but you got a lot of trees in the background as well. You have nice concourse. You have beautiful seats. It truly is one of the better parks in MLB Partner League's world. How are you able to get that vision to execute what Wisconsin Brewing Company Park is?
I think one of the things that helped us start to kind of put the vision on paper and then kind of see where it would escalate and grow is the number of opportunities we've had to travel around the country. As you mentioned, our son has played in various levels, and we've had a chance to see a lot of different parks. We've seen a lot of great ones. We've seen a lot of ones that were really kind of beat up. But what we're able to do is kind of pick those things that we thought really stood out. Not just even what we enjoyed about them, but what you saw the rest of the fans really enjoyed. And you kind of start to put that little vision board together and say, if we had a park one day, we could do this, or we could do this. And then that was kind of where things really got started. Again, I'd love to tell you that this was exactly what we envisioned right from the start, but I can tell you is like anything, a lot of people, if they build things, they know that there's a starting point and then it kind of evolves. And, what we needed to do is kind of add that Lake Country feel to it, right? When we had the pontoon boats, that definitely was not on our original design plan. But as we started to talk about the story and talk about here's what we could do, those ideas came up. And we're like, for sure, we need seating that looks like a pontoon boat. Because what else would you do in Lake Country than watch a baseball game in a pontoon boat with a beer? Now, you tell me where else you can do that. And so those are the things that probably has been the most exciting about it, to see kind of where it goes. Just having the uniqueness of having an in-stadium brewery, right? Before, we were going to be the only park that had an in-stadium operating brewery, and then, of course, the brewers had to one-up us, and they put Leinenkugels in there. But we know that that's another piece that kind of makes it very unique and adds to the experience, and definitely when we do it kind of year-round. Again, at the forefront, baseball is still kind of where our core is at. And so everything kind of, you can see, really stems off as how does that help elevate the baseball experience, not only for the fans. I mean, obviously that's kind of, that's my main driver, right? I look for the fans. Tom and his team, they're looking too, is how does this really expand the experience for players, right? Because we still got to recruit them. We still got to go out there and find them. We still have to tell them, here's why this is going to be the best opportunity for you when it comes to your baseball experience. So, it really all has to come around that we can really meet a lot of needs for a lot of different groups.
Yeah, the old saying is that Wisconsin Brewing Company Park wasn't built in a day, I believe.
Oh, gosh, no. I wish.
And for you, it obviously took a long time to, once you had this idea, to then formulate the plans and whatnot. But then it wasn't smooth sailing, as we've learned over the course of these shows at DockHaus Dialogue from Sonny, that getting the ballpark approved in Waukesha County wasn't the easiest thing in the world. But what was the feeling for you once you finally got the seal of approval from the city of Oconomowoc that you could build Wisconsin Brewing Company Park and then having to jump right into it?
Well, in our experiences, kind of, as I mentioned, our 12 years ago we built the youth baseball facility. And that is definitely a Netflix series in itself, right? Just to get that approved is something that has never been done before privately. And it took a while to get a community to really understand, here's what the potential is. This is why it can really help the community, right? I always say one of the aldermen's, their example they give is, if you asked anyone in Waukesha, if you said, do we have a Starbucks? They could say, yeah, but could they tell you exactly where it was at? No, not really. But if you ask them, do you know where Infinity Fields is, they could tell you exactly, right? Because they knew where it was, definitely it stood out in that community. So, it's kind of the same thing here is this was going to be a journey. It would have been great if we were like one and done. But just like every great baseball career, there isn't just a one and done. There's ups and there's downs to it. And I think it went exactly the path that it needed to go. I think it's, you probably, as Sonny's explained or Tom's explained to you too, and tell the story, is that where we started, we were going to really go down more the collegiate path, right? Kind of take a look at the Northwoods League. And the more we talked about, this is what we want to be able to provide. This is what the business model is going to look like. It just didn't work well within that league itself. That's what kind of escalated and moved it up, so we were able to take a look at the American Association. And it really fit more of what our model and what our flexibility of what we could really create here. You think everyone would love it and embrace it, and we learn very quickly there's definitely communities that they don't necessarily embrace it, and that's okay, right? Change is different, and that's okay. And I think that those questions being asked is what helped us get it to where it's at today. And if they didn't ask the questions and we didn't have the pushback, we'd never be where we're at here today. So, it definitely made it harder, made it more challenging. Just like all of us, we love an easy path. But I think, not only you throw that in there and then you throw COVID in there, which that was another path no one's ever experienced to know what that means in there. And then we still had to get approved by the league. So you still had to go in front of 11 owners and explain to them, here's why you want to pick us. Here's why you want our team in your league and how we're going to help elevate the valuation of the league as a whole. And so, that wasn't easy either, right? We've got a lot of experienced team owners, and you had to answer their questions. I mean, they've been there, they've done that, they know where it's hard, and you can't just make it sound nice. You have to have a good plan in place.
And fast forward 2.5 years later, all of a sudden, the Lake Country DockHounds are clinching a playoff spot in front of 3,000 fans the night after their first fireworks show, with the drone show coming after that game that night with the champagne shower and celebration on the field. What was that night like for you? Because we heard from Tom on a broadcast the next day, and then we heard from Sonny earlier this offseason. But what was that feeling and that night like for you?
Oh, it was... like I said, sometimes you feel like the first year was kind of a blur, right? Because we were just trying to still get this open. I think we didn't realize how challenging everything was going to be. So to get to that point, I think was more of a reflection of how hard everyone's worked. It's a reflection of everyone who's been involved to get us to that point, even from our first players in our first, year one, our interns that we had year one. Even just all the contractors we had to help put this in place. So to me, that was more of a reflection of the last probably 5 years, more than it was a reflection of the season itself. And then, I'm sure as you know, all of us, we expect to win and be there. So to me, it was kind of like, okay, it's about time. Here we are now too. So on that front, it's the start of more playoffs to come and a championship in there to come. So when we look at our 10-year vision, I feel like at least of the 10 years, 6 years to 7 years, we're going to be in those playoffs, and we're going to get a national championship or a league championship in there too.
Well, I know this fan base is hungrier for more after getting a slight taste of just that one playoff game. Unfortunately, the DockHounds weren't able to get their first playoff win, but they're saving that for this upcoming season is certainly what we hope in 2025. And then your staff has been able to expand, your internships, they've been able to expand. Could you speak on what it's like to employ a staff that works so hard to get that product out on the field that everyone in this community is able to enjoy?
Oh, if there's anything that it takes to work in sports, you have to have a passion. You either have a passion for the sport itself, you have a passion for the fan experience, you have a passion for working many, many long hours and feeling like you really don't get paid. It takes all of those. And so I think, from our seasonal staff to our full-time staff, is that to be in this environment, it all starts with that. And to have that many people on board and come back year after year is huge, and it's significant. And that's why we're able to deliver the fan experience that we have been. Trust me, there's definitely been some where it wasn't the right fit, and that's okay. That's great too, right? I mean, then they'll be great. Yeah, exactly. That's where what I love about the fact we've got the internship program. So we always have new ideas, new energy coming in, and then it's those that come back, and that's what makes it even more important too, because they bring that continuity. They bring that. Here's the high standards of what we have to be able to deliver that new people just haven't learned yet, right? So I think that's why you have a good mix or a good blend there.
And the entertainment, it doesn't just run for those 100 games, the 50 home games, truly, during the season. It goes into the entire offseason. We have festival season, which follows the season up until the winter really starts, and then now we're in our entertainment season. How important is it for you in Wisconsin Brewing Company Park and the DockHounds to be a full season or a full year-long entertainment?
Well, that's good. You got them all right. I mean, we've had to really
I do pay attention in the meetings, contrary to what some may say. I don't think anyone says it, but some do. It's not true.
That's why we always give quizzes at the end, right?
That's
how you know if you get to eat. We had to kind of help define that. And here's kind of what drives me is we're going to hit 500,000 fans that have come into this park before we get to year 5. So next year is going to be season 5. We'll hit that beforehand. So what we have to start to take a look at is how do we get to that million mark? And we don't want to wait till we get to year 10, right? Because, you can just calculate that. We're going to get to that million mark, 1 million fans coming through this park. And for us to do that, we know we got to expand it over 50 games. And I was explaining the story today is that when we first started this journey, we worked with a marketing group who's launched a number of different teams. And, they said one of the first things you're going to have to do is have a naming contest, right? Because they all have naming contests. And we had asked, tell us how many entries will we possibly get? And they're like, well, we've done in the past. Usually if you can get about 140, 200, that's a good number. And we're like, okay, we'll go do that. Well, we got that in 12 hours. So we had over, 2,000 entries or names that were submitted. And right away, the marketing group was like, you guys, you got something extremely special here. So that next call to action was when we broke ground, we threw out there to say is who wants to be part of the original founding group, our Diamond Club, and put money down to have a season package for next year when we have our first game. And again, they've done this before, and they said, okay, now if you get 150, that's a grand slam. Okay, well, we like grand slams, right? So we're like, all right, let's get to 150. We did that in 24 hours, right? It just went so fast. So we ended up at over 750 founding members that year 1. And here's kind of what we learned from that. It wasn't, yes, the enthusiasm for the baseball was here for sure, but the big thing that people love about this is the venue. They love what this can be. And so, when we say having 1 million people come through here, it's because we know that's the untapped potential of what can we bring to this space, to this community, to this venue. And we strongly believe, we started we launched the team, it was our team, our town, because we wanted them to feel part of it. There's a lot of aspects. We tied the community into it, even from when we designed the logo and we got the name, but even just making sure there's always different community aspects that are part of every single game. From the time you get into the parking lot, when you've got groups out there that are helping parking, to the entertainment that we've got on the field. And we want it now to be not just our team, our town, it's going to be our venue, our town. So that's kind of what we've seen and what's going to be important.
And I think what's really neat about those numbers and that resounding amount of support from the get-go is that I'm the only person who travels to all 11 other cities and other facilities during the season just because I travel with the team. And you go to these cities, and the smallest city of the 12 teams in the American Association is Oconomowoc, and we're in Waukesha County, which has a population of around 70,000, which is, in the grand scheme of things, especially for a sports team, not a whole lot. But to get that kind of support, what do you think that says about the fan base that we have here in Lake Country?
It all goes back to the main reason when we first talked about bringing this to this area. We knew that was the vibe here. That was the support here. That was something you can't buy, right? If you don't have that, this is nothing but a building and a field. And to me, that's what makes the big difference there. And the other part of it too, and this is what I always tell interns when they're taking a look at this, what makes this opportunity really cool, anytime you're in minor league type sports, you got the flexibility to do whatever you want to do, right? You get to the higher level, the professional level, it's very structured, right? There's things that they can do, it's very prescribed. There's things we can try and we'll flip it within a game. And we do it, we'll see if it worked. If it did, great. If not, let's not do it. I mean, kind of like we bought the dashing beer cans, right? That was simply, we saw it. It was a hockey team that did it back in Fargo, North Dakota. Called the guy up. I'm like, hey, how do you get those beer cans? And there's a guy out of Green Bay, and we tried it, and now we've instituted every single game. So I think that's what's fun about it is we know we got to always keep it changing, but we've got way more flexibility that we can do that quite often.
No, it's awesome. And when I think about pushing it a little bit, I think about my favorite DockHounds shirt, which I didn't end up wearing tonight. I actually have a Louis shirt on, but I decided to keep my hoodie on because I'm soft and I'm still cold. But is my Nice Tots t-shirt, playing off of the tater tots that we sell and are absolutely fantastic here at Wisconsin Brewing Company Park. And you are also the vision behind the merch, and it's easy to see that you love your style, and you team up with Tristan on the merch. But what goes into when you're trying to think of new stuff for our fans to wear or for our players to wear?
Well, like I told you, I'm going to be the person you interview that wears the most bling. Yeah. And some of the players, it's a little tough, right? So that's why I had to wear my bling shoes, too, on top of that.
With flying colors.
So that's right. So, I think I love the fashion of the style. If there's anything I've done in every park, I've spent a lot of money in a lot of their different fan stores. And, what we knew kind of coming into this is that the DockHounds Blue, right? We renamed it. Everyone calls it North Carolina Blue, but for us, it's DockHounds Blue now. We've been around long enough. We knew that was a color that was just going to jump out. But we also knew kind of reflected Lake Country, kind of the water aspect of it. And the other thing was the logo, or the mascot. Everyone kept telling us that your mascot is critical. And I don't know if we quite understood the power of the mascot until we got into it. And that's been huge when it comes to any of our merchandise, is people love the mascot. They love Louis. And that's a big piece of what we have to make sure from a merchandise standpoint. We do provide that in a variety of different of ways. But I always say people like traditional. They like themes, right? So we tie a lot in. We've got our Margaritaville. We always have some type of Hawaiian or lake shirt out there. And then also, too, is they want some of the new seasonal style pieces. So we have a lot of fun trying a lot of different things. I wish my budget was way bigger for us to try some other things. But that's kind of the beauty of being able to go to different parks and see what they offer, and then we try to figure out how we can spin it here.
Well, let's jump right into it because we're running a little tight on time. Thank you to everyone who came out to Wisconsin Brewing Company Park tonight. But the vision for the 2025 season is bigger, and it's going to be a lot more for our fans to take in addition to everything that they've been able to enjoy in the first 3 seasons here in Oconomowoc. What can our fans expect in 2025? Because we unveiled something earlier today.
We did. Yes, and that was the Legends 5-pack. If you haven't seen that yet, you want to definitely check that part out. You know, our theme this year was more, right? And it was, you know, one of the things we wanted to make sure that we keep the pricing affordable, so we haven't changed the pricing, which I think for a lot of us we experienced in so many other aspects that isn't the case, right? Pricing has definitely gone up. And so we're going to keep the same price when it comes to the tickets, but we want to be able to provide more. And so hopefully you're going to see a lot of different aspects where more is going to come into play. We have more celebrities coming in. So the Legends package that was just introduced, we've got Robin Yelk coming back. That obviously was a huge fan favorite. Raleigh Fingers is coming. Ted Simmons will be coming. We've got 2 fireworks this year. Last year we had 1. We've got the drone show coming back. We've got more giveaways that you're going to have a chance to experience. And just more entertainment, right? I mean, I think more music is going to be tied into it. So the live music isn't just when we do the festivals. We're going to see it's going to be kind of thread throughout the whole season, into our festival season, and ongoing there. So we're real excited about what we're going to be bringing to the fans, but more importantly than how they bring that to life. Because, I mean, that's where it really gets even more fun is when you see their enthusiasm. Like you talked about the drone show that we had. You know, it was the pictures afterwards that made it even more fun, right? And how that all plays out. So, but the bigger thing is, I guess Tom wants me to let you all know, is we are going to make it further into the playoffs. So that's even what we're more excited about.
I'm really excited about that too, because you know I want to call some more playoff baseball. That was a lot of fun. The intensity was ramped up. Our fans were super excited that day, especially with the 48 hours notice for them that the game was going to be on that Wednesday after the Monday finale, and they showed up. They showed out in big numbers, much bigger than some of the other teams that made the playoffs, which it's just tough to get fans out here so quickly, but they were so excited to be here, and that really stood out to all of us. And then one last thing before we wrap this up is you also have the opportunity to give back. You mentioned the internships and being able to allow opportunities to younger people who maybe want to work in sports. What is it like for you to give back and spread your knowledge in working in sports, working in business, working as a team to interns and people who are still trying to find their way in life, and also the fact that we have a lot of female interns here at the Lake Country DockHounds. It's maybe not quite 50-50 depending on the year, but there's a good amount of girls who are trying to break into sports, and they get to see you as their leader. Well, you know, my whole entire career, I've worked with internship programs. I've had a chance to work with them all across the country. I've worked with some very large ones. The programs that we were involved in had been recognized nationally as a top internship program for decades, right, which was very unseen for many companies. But one of the key things that I had learned when this organization that would go out there and they would take a look at all the internship programs and they would rate them, and part of why they would rank the one I was involved with as one of the top 10 is that they always said it wasn't about what the individual who stayed with the organization, what they said about the experience, it was those that left it afterwards. It was about how they could describe, here's what I learned and how I can use that in any other aspect that I'd go through. And I always was very passionate about what internship should be about. So when we started the internship program here, is I was able to bring that experience to say is that, you know, what you're supposed to get out of an internship is kind of like what we know about a batter, right? I mean, the whole thing about being a batter is it's always a question is, well, how many at-bats do they get? You know, it's how many chances do they get up there, not just to show they can swing the bat, but no matter what is thrown to you, what the circumstances are, how are you able to adapt and then be able to perform? That's what interns need to have a chance to do, because they always say you can't get the job without the experience, and you can't get the experience without the job. And that's what internships are allowed to do, is to give you the at-bats that you need, so when you're going to go to that next opportunity, you're able to use that. That's going to help you grow and be able to expand your capacity, what you're able to do. So, you know, I might be prejudiced, but I think our internship is one of the strongest ones. It's definitely out here. It's definitely in the league, because of the fact that we buy into, we're not just looking for interns just to do all the task work. We're looking for them to gain experience. So we talk a lot about, you know, here's how we're going to help you build your portfolio. At the end of their internship experience, they put together their vision board of what they actually learned and what they got, so they can take that into an interview. We do lunch and learns.
We do a lot of goal setting. We do a lot of brainstorm with them, but they're able to take those ideas and they have proof of how that actually worked and applied. So I think if you're out there, if you're thinking about going into a career in sports, and one of the things that I saw is that anyone who's in that career, they've got multiple internships. It's just not a one and done, right? So that's why I always go back to, it's just like baseball. It's all about your at-bats. You got to be able to show that you can adapt and adjust, you can work at a fast pace, you can be able to plan and execute, because that's what makes the difference out there.
And there's no better way to showcase your abilities than to have a task, to be able to execute it, and then be able to apply that task. And that's definitely what our internship program here at the DockHounds showcases. It took me having an internship that I earned by my experiences from a club to then be the first full-time play-by-play broadcaster here for the Lake Country DockHounds. And year 3's coming up. It's been awesome to broadcast baseball here and now have these talk shows to our fans. And Lisa, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to do that and for joining me tonight on the DockHaus Dialogue with Dom.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. And then I've got some news upcoming for our future shows. Tristan Kaufman, who a lot of you know because you are season ticket holders, will be my guest next week. He'll talk more about the Legends Pack, what will be included with that, and what brought him to the Lake Country DockHounds, because he was a DockHounds intern. The following week, we do not have a DockHaus night, but then after that, we will have Matt Yazel from the American Association. He'll be joining us. He runs socials on the American Association pages, and he's kind of the league insider. So if you have American Association questions, I think that'll be an awesome guest. He's also a Wisconsin native. Jack Jennings, he'll be coming up in March. He works very closely with Tom on recruiting players to help make sure that we have a winning product on the field at Wisconsin Brewing Company Park. And then March 19th is Paul Wagner, our pitching coach, former Major League pitcher, including for the Milwaukee Brewers, and also just a pitching coach here in the southeastern Wisconsin era. And he gets to impact the next generation of baseball, and he'll be able to spread his wisdom. We greatly appreciate everyone for coming out tonight, and we have trivia with Skipper Dave starting in about 10 minutes. Thank you so much.